Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here for our webinar on the B Corp movement. And for those of you who are curious about the B Corp movement and B Corp certification, you are in the right place. We're going to give a couple of minutes for folks to join, but so you can get settled in and get ready for the next hour. Thank you again so much for joining. We really appreciate it. So just give another minute in case people are straggling in. We have people from far and wide joining us today.
It's always the joy of doing something live where you have to like wait for that virtual commute to be able to get going.
That's right. That's right. We're in all different time zones here. Okay, well, I guess we have 12:02, so let's just get going. So again, thank you all so much for joining us today. Welcome from all around, I think all around the world. We have some international visitors here today. So I just wanted to let you know that currently there are about 8,000 certified B Corps in the world, with about 2,500 here in the US and Canada. And all of those businesses are committed to what is called business as a force for good. And today I'm so happy to have a few folks, some of my favorite people, favorite clients, favorite colleagues here on the call who will be sharing with you about their journeys to becoming a B Corp and giving you advice and talking about their challenges and benefits of being a B Corp. Just to start, for those of you on the call who don't know me, I am Carrie McDevitt. I'm based here in Connecticut. I am a senior B Corp consultant for Impact Growth Partners. We are a women-owned, women-led firm, and we work with companies on helping them to become certified and also to help them improve their impact, both from a social impact standpoint and also an environmental standpoint. So enough about me. I just wanted to go around. We can popcorn it if you'd like, but just for each of you on the call, introduce yourselves, a little bit about yourself, your business, and a little bit about why you became a B Corp. Popcorn it first to Gabe. Hi, Gabe.
Hey there. Thanks, Carrie. It's so great to be here with you. I am really excited to be a part of this panel, and my role. I'm the founder of Bear Lake Coffee Company. We are a specialty coffee roaster and coffee house located in the northwest part of Wisconsin, and we roast and deliver coffee to online patrons all over the United States and the world, as well as have a local coffee house. And what's special about our business is we're really been chartered to work with creating impact at origin, where we source our coffees. At origin, about 60% of farmers live below the poverty line. And here locally in Barnett, Wisconsin, in a rural community, about half the population here lives below the poverty line. So our coffee house and roastery is headquartered here, bringing meaningful work to this northwest part of Wisconsin. And then we ship and roast coffee from this town that we're working out of, a town with a big heart. It's all over the United States and the territory of Puerto Rico. We became a B Corp because we believe in the global movement. We believe in shared humanity. We believe in, whether you're at origin in El Salvador or working here in the United States, that transparency and treating everyone in a way in which everyone wins, and using business as a force for good is super important to us. And that's why the B Corp framework was the most progressive framework that could promote our value system and allow us to manage a triple bottom line and grow a really special company. just really excited to be a part of the movement, and looking forward to being a part of this panel.
Mhm. Okay. Who would you like to send it over to now, Gabe?
Let's go send it over to Sammy. We'll hot potato over to her.
Hot potato. Hi, everyone. I'm Samantha Williams. I'm the president and CEO of 628 Digital Design, which is a certified B Corp and full service marketing and consulting agency. So we do all things marketing, social media, websites, graphic design, a lot of copywriting because I'm a writer by trade. So we fold that into it. And then we recently expanded our services to include technical assistance to provide consulting and coaching services and help people get their business certifications and socioeconomic designations like your minority business enterprise, women business enterprise, women-owned small business. Carrie does the B Corp. We don't touch B Corp. That's a whole beast. And then we also help businesses source, write, and submit grants. And I ended up over on this side doing the B Corp certification through the Level program that I participated in. And through that program, I was partnered with Carrie, who helped me as the B Corp consultant to help me through the process. And I know we're going to talk all about that. So thank you, Carrie. And so I had participated in a lot of training and professional development programming with WeBank, where I'm certified as a women's business enterprise. And they did a lot of work on, I participated in their ESG and sustainability programs. And that's where I really got interested in what is sustainability, what does ESG mean, and how can I further use it to enhance our organization. And so that led me to Level, which led me to Carrie, which led me to B Lab, and now we're certified. So I will hot potato it over to Jenn.
Thank you, Sammy. My name is Jenn Grace. I'm the founder of Publisher Purpose. We are a hybrid book publishing company that focuses on elevating the voices of thought leaders, oftentimes from underrepresented communities. If we look at kind of what the traditional publishing landscape has looked like over the years, there tends to be a lot of gatekeeping that has occurred. And so our emphasis is really to find ways to make sure that we're elevating all voices that need to be heard and should be reflected. And so we do that through writing programs to help people go from an idea that they have in their head to actually having a manuscript complete, to the actual full publishing process, which is going from you got a shitty first draft and don't know what to do with it, to having a book in your hand, and then also the marketing of the book. So what do you do with the book once you have put it out into the world? And so those are all the kind of areas that we cover. And it started from my own work, having been a thought leader in a different space many moons ago. And now I am here, and we got certified in 2020. And I worked with Impact Growth Partners, thankfully. I know we'll talk about that in a little bit in terms of how the process goes, but getting B Corp certification is not for the faint of heart, is what I usually tell people, but it is an incredible designation. And I really feel like it is such a blessing to have. And fortunately, I get the joy of collaborating with Carrie and many others as one of the co-founders of the Be Local Connecticut. So that is my entry point and constant point to stay involved and up to date on all the things happening in this ever very fast-paced changing space of all things B Corp. So thank you, Carrie, for organizing all of us today.
Thank you so much. It's such a great group of people. It's just, I always say that I have the best job in the world because I get to work with such amazing people. Like the movement just attracts good people who want to do good things. And I say that with a sincere heart that you're all just amazing. So anyway, back to the process of becoming a B Corp. So we're going to talk about a few things today: the process of becoming a B Corp, the challenges, the benefits, the ROI, what impact the certification has had perhaps on your business and stakeholders, and any advice you would like to give to others. So let's start first with the process. So just to back up a little bit, as Sammy mentioned, B Lab is a nonprofit governing body that oversees the certification. And so there's a B Lab US and Canada. There's a B Lab in, for example, whether it's Australia, New Zealand, or parts of Europe. Sistema Bay in Latin America, and then there's a B Lab also global. So we fall under the B Lab US and Canada, and the tool that one uses is called the B Impact Assessment. So all of these folks, we accompany them through every question within the B Impact Assessment. Once you achieve a minimum currently of at least 80 points, one is able to submit their assessment. We like to have more points than that, because during what's called verification with B Lab, there's a strong chance that some of those points may be lost. But in order to go through verification, you also have to, for every affirmative answer that you take, you need to have supporting documentation or data or policies to support your answers. So I just wanted to start there a little bit. So once you have all your documents in place, then you go through verification, and an analyst is assigned to your case. And they basically, we jump on a review call with them, similar to this type of virtual situation. And then hopefully, if all goes well and you're able to maintain the 80 points, you can become certified. So all of that, hopefully there wasn't any trauma when I was speaking about that with any of you, but it can be a very rigorous process. It's sort of like going back and rehashing. But I just would like to touch on that a little bit about the process. If you, any of you can please speak on to that, the challenges of that, what you enjoyed about that, just in general, how would you assess sort of that time, that process of getting through the assessment, the documentation, verification with B Lab, any of that? Yeah, feel free to jump in.
Well, I will say it's giving PTSD vibes. Talk about being traumatic. I feel like through that assessment, B Lab knows more about me and my business than I thought I ever did, and anyone else does. I mean, it is very arduous. It's very detailed. When I did, I did it on my own, right? I said, let me go do this impact assessment and answer these questions. And then when I completed it again with your assistance, Carrie, it was like, oh, that's what that means? I didn't realize that. And then I think you mentioned that when you answer questions a certain way, it unlocks different areas, your impact business models that I guess I wasn't tapping into on my own. And so through your assistance, I was able to really dive deep into all the intricacies of the business and what we do, why we do it, how we do it, who we do it for, what people pay. Like they ask everything. And then documenting everything, having your reasoning that supports your documentation, because you can't just upload documents. You have to speak towards it. There's detailed spreadsheets that we went through. And yeah, it was a process.
But you survived and you made it with flying
colors. Nevertheless.
Carrie, I'll jump in, because Sammy started talking about other certifications in her introduction. And so I am also a woman-owned certified business, an LGBTQ-owned certified business. And I used to help others like 15 years ago, help get those certifications because they're a little bit cumbersome. But if you're an organized person, you can make your way through it relatively easily. So I kind of came into it being like, it's another certification. This isn't going to be that tricky. And at the same time, I have known Sarah Bodley, who's the executive director of Reset, which is based in Hartford, Connecticut. And in conversations with her, she's the one that I learned about B Corps through. And I feel so fortunate that she was like, you and Jen Gorin need to connect, because I think that, it makes sense. It just makes sense to connect. And so we connected so many years ago. And that is also the origin of why Jen, Carrie, the three of us decided to co-found the Be Local. But I feel like I came into this process not realizing, it's kind of like two completely opposite things. One, like, oh, it's a certification, I can do this, I've done others. And also, here's this company that can just help me do it, and I don't have to waste my time trying to figure it out on my own. So I didn't take the assessment on my own first. I didn't even go down that path. I immediately was like, I want to do this. and you're a company that can do it. Let's just work together and make it happen. So I feel really fortunate that I got to work with Rebecca, because I feel like it's one of those things that even if you are organized, like Sammy was saying, it kind of like, if you answer a question in a certain way, it kind of like unlocks or doesn't unlock something. And unless you really know the nuances of what it's asking for, I feel like to me, it felt really tricky. I do know that there's plenty of people who navigate the assessment on their own. So maybe I just took the easy way out where I'm like, I'm not even bothering with this. But, I think the process was less traumatic for me because I had a really awesome support person and support team to kind of help me through that process. So I guess the PSA would be, if you want to go down a PTSD route like Sammy did, you can go that way, or you can just shortcut the process and work with someone who knows what they're doing.
Thank you, Jen.
Yep. Yeah. And I think from my standpoint, the process was great. I did what they call a pending B Corp process for a startup. Bear Lake Coffee was less than a year old when I connected with Carrie and started working on this process. And so I want to say we were a few months old. We weren't even 6 months old when we started the process with Carrie. So being a startup and starting from ground zero with a company, it was a wonderful framework to go through the B impact assessment and really think about what you're doing currently, but also at certification, what would you be fully operationally doing? And so when we answered the business impact assessment and said, all right, how are we going to work, in terms of like workers, and what's our approach to paying a living wage? And what is the approach to our 401k? What is the approach to, inclusive health coverage? All of these questions came up. We talked about workers. When we talked about the environment, how are we working to package our goods? And it also, I'm happy to say now, we've got solar panels on our coffee house and roastery, and we collect the sun for free. We provide level 2 EV charging to our patrons that stop in for free. And we're no single-use plastics, that kind of thing. So we really think through like how we're going to impact the environment and governance, right? Making sure that we're very transparent in terms of how we're working and, having a board of advisors, et cetera, customers, talking about what warranties and protections do we have in place for our customers. So for me, it was very additive for me being a startup and having built and sold a business in 2020. It was a breath of fresh air to go through and say, all right, what are the policies and the procedures and the things that we want to have fully operationalized when we get to a full review, when we get going with this. So in a lot of ways, I spent, 17 years building a business. The policies and procedures we developed with Carrie were more progressive, more robust than some of the things I had going in my old business, which is a great business. I'm very proud of it, but it was great to begin with a clean slate and have a partner like Carrie to kind of go through workers, environment, customers, governance, all of these things, and really build out a playbook. So the benefit to me was just having this ecosystem I could tap into, that whether I was in El Salvador or Africa or anywhere, everyone had confidence that we were going to treat everyone with transparency and fairness and drive at providing living wages no matter where we were working. So that feels good to me. That feels like what the world needs more of, it just, I don't know, it just gives me energy even talking about it, right? I think about the kind of company that I want my kids and my grandkids to work in as the world, moves forward. It's just, I'm just proud of the framework, and it's a framework that's allowed me to manage a triple bottom line. I talked to some of my old colleagues and friends that aren't familiar with the framework, and they thought it was a nonprofit framework. They weren't even familiar with this framework. And I just had to explain to them, I said, this is a for-profit framework. It's a for-profit framework to manage a triple bottom line of how you work with people, how do you work with the planet, and how do you manage profits with balance. And from that standpoint, really, I'm really proud of the framework, and I'm proud to be a part of it. You know, and it's been fun. You know, the ROI for me is you know, it's been great. I mean, we're on track to have a 600% increase in revenue this year or more. You know, and we're also attracting really good people, you know, because people look at, you know, what we're building and how we're working with employees and workers in the environment, and how do we work with suppliers, you know, and they feel really excited to be a part of something that's special and making an impact in, you know, not only in the local community, but also in the broader communities that we tap into across the globe. So anyways, a little bit of it, some tangents there, but really, really great framework. And the ROI to me is you know, it's unfolding, but every year I'm seeing more and more, you know, things compound and growing, because we have the right value system in place, you know, and it's, you have the right value system in place. It goes a long ways. When the time comes to make the decisions, you make the right decisions.
So that's great. So I think that's just the enthusiasm. It's not like you're going off on tangent. It's just the enthusiasm, I think, of being also in this community. So that sort of leads me to, you touched on the ROI, and that's really, as a consultant, that's one of the first questions, or a frequent question we get. What's the ROI? What's the return on the investment for becoming? What are the benefits of being a B Corp? You know, how will I see this impact? So I think that Gabe started talking about that, about people, about attracting the right people. And that comes in many different forms, right? Whether it be employees or customers or what have you. But I just wanted to sort of get into that a little bit more, as far as the ROI, as far as the benefit you've seen, whether it be the community or what have you, just to hear that from you. Could be Gabe or Jen or Sammy.
I can hop in, because I think my mind goes to marketing benefits, because I think a lot of times when we're pursuing something, especially something as rigorous as B Corp certification, because it really is a rigorous process, and it's not just a, hey, you're certified once, it's done. It is a recertification process to make sure that you are evolving with the standards that B Lab is setting. But from a marketing standpoint, what I love is that there is that community, Carrie, that you just started to touch upon a little bit there. There's the sense of community, and it is a different conversation when you are networking with people who are B Corps, or they know what B Corp certification is. And so in my experience, you know, having conversations from either just a broad networking topic, or if someone's like, hey, so-and-so, Jen's a B Corp, she publishes books, I know you're looking to write a book. Having just that connection point, the B Corp language really makes a huge difference, at least for me, because it's no longer a trying to hard sell, convince somebody why they should do business with me and why our values align. It is just inherently known that if you're a B Corp, I'm a B Corp, that there is a values alignment. It's no conversation around that. And so for me, I think that's what, if we're looking at an ROI from both a time, a money, just energy standpoint, being able to have conversations where you enter a room and you are both completely at the same level, and you know that this person is going to have similar beliefs and values and, you know, ethics and how they approach things, can really be powerful, because we're in, you know, a really kind of divisive point in our just history as a country, more so than I think in the past. And so that can be problematic depending on like where you're coming from, especially as, you know, like a queer business owner. I don't always know what room I'm going to walk into and know if that's going to be a safe room to be in. But if it's a conversation or it's a group of people that are B Corps, I don't have to worry about that. And so it's just something that's just an added benefit from just a really, really personal level, but then also from a business level, because we have a lot of folks that we've worked with that either are certified or they're very familiar with what certification means. And it's just a really different conversation, which I appreciate. And I love those conversations when they happen.
I love that. And as a level participant, I do have to acknowledge that our experiences are different. So B Corp room or not, when I show up, I'm showing up as a Black woman and I present as that first, and that's what people see. And so one thing I do love about B Corp certification is that we have a BIPOC Slack channel. And that BIPOC Slack channel provides a community for Black, Indigenous, people of color who are either certified, they are employees of a Certified B Corp, or they are interested in B Corp, to come together, and we communicate there also, because that's our little safe space within B Corp. So the fact that B Lab even provides these opportunities and spaces and really understands the differences amongst the B Corp companies, I think is amazing. When you talk about the ROI, there was a lot of ROI when it comes to B Corp. One, as a level participant, Carrie, you can speak to what level is better than I can, I think. But as a level participant, I had added benefits. So that automatically made it easier. It was still challenging, but it made it easier to pursue the certification. I've also been invited to participate in different webinars and speaking engagements through B Lab, which some are paid engagements, some are not paid engagements. So then you start seeing the ROI on the cost of that certification. And I remember working with Carrie early on, and she told me, I think it was through the Level program, that the certification would come with an employee handbook also. And at that point, I was struggling with trying to have an employee handbook. We've been in business, December will be 9 years, but we've had independent contractors the whole time. And now we're a year and a half in with employees. So that's a whole different aspect of running a business. And so I'm like, we need an employee handbook. We need policies. We got to get it all together. And Carrie's like, oh, you get an employee handbook, you get policies, a boatload of policies. I also had an attorney who was able to review and amend my operating agreement for free, because we had to incorporate the B Corp language into the operating agreement. Carrie, you can talk about why and all that. All I know, she facilitated the entire process to make sure it got done. So I see a lot of ROI. Jen, you mentioned doing business with B Corp. So B Corps want to do business with other B Corps. And we have a community of B Corps. B Corps, we have a beehive, not the beehive, but we do have a beehive. And in the beehive, there's different communities and channels based on industry, based on affiliation, based on gender, all kinds of things. And so you can join these subgroups where you can, really niche down who you're talking to. One thing I started doing, because of course I got to talk about marketing like Jen did. I love that she started with marketing. It's so important. 628 digital design. And so one thing I started doing was doing some like cold DMing on LinkedIn. But on LinkedIn, I can also search marketing directors, and I can search marketing directors B Corp or Certified B Corp, and it will further narrow it down. And then in my pitch to them, I start with our credentials and our experience and what we do, but I also throw in, we are a Certified B Corp, and we know that means something to you. Like Jim was saying, it's an unspoken language. When you're in this room, that means you already have values that align at some point. And when you say that to them, it's like, oh, you're a B Corp? Okay, let's schedule a call. Yesterday, I had 2 client calls with Certified B Corps, right? And the more I engage with the community, the more that I show up, the more that my clients start to reflect those B Corps and those with those aligned values.
Great.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, just to back up a little bit, because I know to unpackage that a little bit, because Sammy touched on so many amazing programs and opportunities. Just to back up a little bit, Sammy's mentioned she is part of the Level program. So just for those of you who don't know what that is a program that was created by B Lab 3 or 4 years ago, basically to level the playing ground, so to speak. To basically offer, there's an application process, and folks who identify as women as well as BIPOC can apply. And there's, again, an application process. And a few, again, started about 4 years ago. And fortunately, Impact Growth Partners, we applied also to be a consulting firm that would work with these level participants. So we were actually the first U.S. Consulting firm to be chosen to work with level. There was one other firm at that point in Canada that worked with level participants. So I've had the pleasure of working with 4 rounds of level participants during the last 4 years. Sammy being one of the more recent and one of the more vibrant. No, they're all great. But so basically, there are a lot. So I'm happy to share some. For those of you who are on the call, please reach out if you'd like to me. I can share information about the level program, a link to the application, or let you know how to follow up on that. But there are a lot of benefits, of course, of being part of that program, one of which is an assignment to a consultant like me. So, well, not just like me, but like there are other consultants as well. Sammy also touched on the legal component of becoming a B Corp. So that's important because this is, there are so many different certifications out there. And I think what distinguishes the B Corp certification above others is the fact that there is a legal requirement of all B Corps. So in order to be a B Corp, and we have actually different corporate entities on the call today. If you are an LLC, one needs to amend your operating agreement to reflect the fact that you consider all stakeholders, meaning anyone who has anything that is a stake in your business, into your operating agreement. Gabe actually, as a corporation, became what's called a benefit corporation, not to be confused with a certified B Corp. And certainly, I'm happy to explain the difference in more detail if anyone would ever like to jump on a call. Anyone who's on the LinkedIn right now. But one doesn't necessarily have to be a benefit corporation to be a certified B Corp, but you do need to have the legal amendment. If you are a corporation, you do need to become a benefit corporation if it's allowed in your state. Unfortunately, benefit corporation does not exist in all of our 50 states as of yet, but many are working on it as well. So that's the legal component. That is a requirement. And what else? Oh, Sammy touched on the policies and documents. That is the benefit of working with consultants, at least as far as working with us that we provide. We call it, phase 2 is our documentation, policy, data organizing time. And that's when we fortunately have a database of templates and policies, whether it be workers or whether it be a charitable giving policy, it could be a remote worker policy, it could be a code of ethics, it could be an employee handbook. So again, as Gabe sort of touched on, I think, and that's the beauty of starting this as a startup is we were able to establish those policies and get those documents sort of in order, sort of get all your ducks in a row before your business is established. But certainly we've worked with many businesses where we've gone back and then edited their employee handbook, for example, so that it is more B Corp related and has the values of a B Corp a lot written into the policies or handbook or what have you. And lastly, before we start the next sort of topic, but I think Sammy hit it on the head as far as, and I do always encourage clients to get as involved, engaged as possible into the B Corp community. It's like life, the more you're engaged in it, the more you're going to benefit. So I think it's a give and take, whether it be with one of the networking groups that Sammy touched on, whether it be the BIPOC network, whether it be Proud, which is an LGBTQIA group, or whether it be a climate justice initiative or a climate network. There's something, a B2B network, there's something really for everyone. I think there's a marketing, network, there's a beauty coalition, there's, lots of different networks to join. And then there's also, of course, what are called the B locals. There's a B local in many states, even in many cities, that one could get involved in as well. So just to meet more people.
Carrie, since you mentioned the Be Local, I wanted to chime in on that. So my employees, I had to introduce them to B Corp. I had to tell them, what it is. A lot of times I participate in programs and they think that Sammy's over there doing this thing. It doesn't impact my work. I have to do my work. Okay, Sammy, go have fun with your program over there. Mm-hmm. And I had to let them know that this is org-wide, right? And what it means to be an employee of a B Corp. What does it mean to the community? What does it mean to you? I've invited Carrie in to come and talk to my employees about B Corp certification and what it means. And after that conversation, my creative operations manager, Alyssa, she lives in Wisconsin. She located her local Wisconsin. And now she's the chief marketing person for, I thought I told you that, Carrie. Yeah, she's the chief marketing person for Be Local Wisconsin. And I'm like, wow, okay, go ahead, Alyssa, go ahead. So yes, the Be Locals are everywhere. I'm actually doing a lot of work with the Be Local in Texas. I think it's Austin. Neb is down there. Been having a lot of conversations with him.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, there's also now it's biannual, but a Champions Retreat, which takes place. I've seen Gabe and I were in Philadelphia. Jen and I hung out a bit in Vancouver. The next one, hopefully, Sammy, will be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So that might be a good time for you to meet with Alyssa too. But anyway, but there's a lot. There's a lot of different benefits, and I think you talked a little bit, and I don't know if you can speak to any collaboration, any specifics. I think that where you've worked with other B Corps in any capacity, that connection, because we talk about that, but I just wonder if that actually has come to fruition at all with any of you.
Yeah, I can speak to that. We grand opened our first brick and mortar in March, and we're at the Specialty Coffee Association conference in Chicago. And, it was great. We had a booth in Roasters Village and serving samples of our coffee up to people all over the world, that were flying in. And it's an annual conference where everybody talks to people in the specialty coffee business. And it was just great. We connected with Stone Creek Coffee, who's a local B Corp here in Wisconsin. And she was great. She was so friendly, helpful, transparent. And, it's just great just picking her brain on getting started. And she's been a great connection for us. And it's wonderful. And then as we've looked to source products, a lot of our to-go packaging and stuff was sourced through another B Corp, which the name escapes me because we bought it 6 months ago, and I haven't revisited with them lately. But some of our other equipment, MIR, MIIR, they provide coffee gear, things like that. So we've connected with B Corps where we can, both on our retail side, on our food side, and obviously have begun the process of connecting with B Corps that are actually in coffee farming. And so I'm early stages on actually connecting with certified B Corps at origin, that follow those practices, because that's like a no-brainer to me to work more with coffee farmers that are certified B Corps, which is really exciting. So it's got tentacles in all parts of our business. And when we're working with folks like that, it just increases velocity, and makes things easier, because there's like a shared commitment that's bigger than each of our businesses that we're very well aware of when we're working with each other.
Great.
I think it should also be mentioned that in that impact assessment, we kind of get points for working with other B Corps. So it's worth our while to reach out and try to connect with other B Corps. For myself, within that Slack channel, the BIPOC B Corp channel, we have a subgroup of Black B Corp marketers. And we've connected, and now we have our own little group chat in there, and we send referrals back and forth to each other, because we're all in marketing, and we may overlap a little bit, but marketing is huge. And I believe in collaboration over competition all day. And we get in there and we pass referrals. We're in the process now of scheduling a webinar for B Lab. I'm working with Denise, who's my person at B Lab. Carrie can tell you what that means. But I'm working with Denise to help coordinate a fireside style webinar with the Black marketers of B Corp. I also have a nonprofit, CMWP Foundation. And under that, we have a membership program, the Collaboration of Minority Women Professionals. So shout out to any members who are watching. And CMWP recently entered into a partnership with Carrie's company, Impact Growth Partners, so that we can help provide B Corp assistance to women who are interested in obtaining the B Corp certification.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How about you, Jen? Anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of everything that they're both talking about. I think one of the things that I was really excited about with the assessment was the fact that it really looks at your supply chain. And I think when we are running our own independent businesses and there's no one governing what we are or aren't doing, we can kind of just do things like status quo to whatever our status quo is. And what's great is that because I've been involved in the other certification processes for 2 decades at this point, I already had a really diverse supply chain. It has been something that I have been very, very intentional about from day one of this business. And so what's beautiful is a little bit of what Sammy was just saying, is that there's such a connection point with other B Corps that, you know, people that I've met at Champions Retreat or people that I've met in the Beehive or through whatever other network it might be, it's really easy for me to say, all right, which vendors do we have and who can I add? Well, how can I add another B Corp as a supplier or a vendor into what our process is? And so it's just really, I think it's rewarding in a lot of ways, because it's obviously, if I can put you in there as a vendor, or because I work with authors need help with literally everything. There is like nothing, especially from a marketing standpoint, that an author does not need.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I can say, hey, here's this B Corp that does websites, I would much rather make that referral than some random person that maybe shoved a business card in my face at a local networking event. So there's
Mm-hmm.
much more intentionality kind of behind it. And then the other thing is that in the publishing space, there's not a lot of publishers that are certified. So there's Barrett Kohler, which is a really, really well-established with a good reputation business book publisher. And then there's Lulu, which is a self-publishing kind of platform, which is also incredible. And we have a partnership with them specifically because we're both B Corps. And then there's bookshop.org, which is an alternative to buying your books on Amazon. And so Bookshop has this incredible online platform where they take proceeds of their sales and give back to local bookstores. So they're, and I'm not speaking for them, but it seems like their goal is to be that really competitive alternative to Amazon. So I always tell people, like, if you're just trying to make one little difference in your buying decisions and you don't want to keep buying things on Amazon, the easiest thing you can do is just buy a book on Bookshop and they're B Corp. So it's like just a win-win. So I'm constantly promoting bookshop.org. So shout out to them and all the great work that they do.
Okay,
And
great.
one thing too, it's like, it's easy to refer other B Corps and work with other B Corps, because going through the certification process is such a vetting process. Everybody can't get through this, right? You really have to prove that your business is on the up and up, that you are established, that, you know, you do the things that you say you do. You know, it's that intentionality too that Jen mentioned. I always say we have a commitment to economic inclusivity at 628, which means we hire Black women creatives. And then it's like coming into B Corp, those practices are validated, right? It's like Gabe was saying, we think we're doing the right things, right? We think we're doing what's right for environment, for social impact and all of this. And then B Corp comes in and says, but are you? Because here's our measurement and how do you add up to it? And so one thing that I really appreciated was I was hoping I was paying my employees, the right rate, what they should be paying, be making. But then with Carrie, we went through the livable wage, right? And my employees are all over the country. And so we have to break it down by city and state and zip code to see what is the livable wage per employee, per location. And thankfully, we were able to say we were paying them a livable wage, but I didn't go through that process beforehand. I was just, looking at industry standards, looking at comparable positions and making a decision that way. But B Corp and the certification really validates the work that we're doing.
Yep. Thank you so much. I was going to add there too, another benefit, I guess, would be, I don't know if you guys know of this, but in the so everything in the B Corp world is like cute, you know, Beehive, it's B the Change, what else? There's B Network. There's like lots of, anyway, everything's cute.
Oh, there's We the Change.
Be the Change, yeah. Then there's Be the Change, which is the online publishing platform. But many B Corps offer discounts to other B Corps. So whether it be you want to buy chocolate, you want to buy coffee, you want to get into publishing, you know, you can go into the marketplace on the Beehive, by the way, and find different discounts. So whether it be buying corporate Patagonia gear or what have you, there are discounts that are available, and one can offer discounts to hopefully solicit more business. So just wanted to add that in case you weren't aware. Okay, last question before we open it up to more questions to the folks out there. So if you had to offer advice to someone who's, you know, on the fence, they're not sure, you know, they're thinking about it, you know, what advice would you offer to them, either about pursuing certification or about the process? What advice would you offer?
Yeah, I can jump in on that. I think it's critical that you have a partner when you do this, somebody, you know, again, I will promote you all day long, Carrie, in your firm. It's invaluable to have a third party partner to look at you and look at your business and handhold you through the process. You know, I joked with Charles, who I referred over to you earlier from Tekwani. I was like, Carrie was my earth angel, B Corp earth angel that just kind of shepherded me through the process. She was amazing. And it took us 20 months, highs and lows, you know, and I just thought it was invaluable to have someone take you through that process, to challenge yourself to be better and to implement changes that need to be implemented. And so I feel like it's really, really great to go through that process. And I think it's critical, number one, to have someone to kind of see it through with you, that's invested in your business, like Carrie and her firm were. And it's critical to do that. And then I think, don't look at it as a badge. You've got to look at it as a commitment that, hey, this is a jumping off point for my business and how I'm going to work. And it's interesting, you know, as I underwent this process, and we opened our doors, and I started in Atlanta, and then I opened my doors in a rural conservative community. It's been interesting, that journey, right? And so for me, it's like, it's been, when we look at how we're addressing people, how we're addressing planet, and how we're addressing profits to a rural conservative population, a lot of them, as you can imagine, don't really believe in the climate change elements, right? And so I've had to like step back and say, okay, you know, you've got people that don't believe in climate change at all, but they believe in climate change, and think there needs to be a plan in place, but not as dramatic a plan. And then you've got people that are like, hey, everybody needs to be in EVs tomorrow. And, you know, right, you get this continuum. So what's interesting is it allows you to work with folks and educate folks and get them at least on a shared continuum that you can say, hey, directionally we're correct, right? We're moving in this direction on this policy or this issue, and we're all people. And oddly enough, you know, when we opened our doors, we had one of the craziest winters ever, you know, in Wisconsin, where they didn't have 140 inches of snow on the ground. And there's been a lot of people that are like, hey, maybe this climate change thing's really real, right? And so it's been interesting to be a B Corp and come into an environment where we've been able to just let people digest the information, be a place where people can share their divergent viewpoints, but we all respect each other. And so that's been really interesting, to be on the opposite end of the spectrum, from where we started, and it's been a process. And it's I don't know. I wouldn't change a thing about it. For me, it feels right. It feels like I'm doing the right thing and I'm making the right impact in the right place, and it's challenging at times, but I feel like I'm where I'm at, where I should be at. And the framework's been great,
Thank you, Gabe.
I think one thing I would tell people is designate the time needed to do it. I am extremely busy, and Carrie was extremely flexible, trying to fit into my schedule and make it happen. She did work on her own, or I did work too on my own, and then we came back together to put everything together. I would say go to B Lab's website, keep reading, find out more, find out what they're doing, find out what's important, get on the newsletter. Say, you can start speaking the language. It's its own thing. It's a whole community. And get you a Carrie, get you an impact growth partners, because you can't, I guess some people do it alone. I would not be certified today if I wasn't working with Carrie. So get you a Carrie.
What's funny is that this is not a paid endorsement for IGP. However, it really it was not planned either. But no, Sammy's saying get yourself a Carrie. I would say get yourself a Rebecca, because Rebecca was my person. And I think when I look at the value of my time, I think that's one of the things, especially as entrepreneurs, it's the one thing we can't get more of than the quote unquote competition, right? We all have the same amount of time that we're working with. And if I look at how my time could be spent going through B Lab's extraordinary level of documentation on their website, like I think B Lab has so much information. And if you have the time and the wherewithal and the patience to go through all of their information, you could probably get through the assessment on your own. But I know for me, because I track my time, I'm really methodical about just seeing where I spend my time every single day. And when I went through the certification the first time around, I spent over 60 hours, 60, trying to find the right documentation, trying to run the right reports, trying to go back and forth. I'm sure on Rebecca's side, it was probably nothing even close to that. And that was that much time with someone who knows what they're doing. So if I were trying to do that on my own, there is no way I would have gotten, I don't think I would have gotten there. And if I look at how could I have better used that, how can I better use my time if I'm spending 100 hours trying to figure this out? I could get a lot done in my business with 100 hours of time, even if it's only 10 hours of time, right? Like we need to just look at, like, if your time is worth $600 an hour and you're spending even 10 hours on it, it's not worth it. So I think my advice would be I think take the route Sammy did and go and just kind of explore it first, kind of poke around and see, because then I think you will have that eye-opening revelation of like, wow, this is a bigger lift than I thought it was. And there are so many amazing humans who are here to be supportive and help you get across the finish line, because it really is a community of like-minded people with shared values and a shared alignment that are here to help you win and help you succeed. Because I think in the B Corp space, the more of us there are, I think the better it is for just the planet as a whole, right? So I think that that's a really incredible thing. So I would just say my biggest advice is just get the help wherever the help comes from. Just get help in this process. Don't go it alone.
Okay. Thank you. And no, it's not a paid infomercial. We want to make sure of that. But yeah, but I would just add there, I think that Gabe he's very poetic and said something when we met last time about it's a journey, not a destination. It's a marathon, not a race. I mean, it is a process. So, and it is a journey, and one that needs to be taken seriously, and one, I think we all work, you're very hard, most of, as founders, and you're working always in your business. This is more about working on your business, right? It's about long-term. It's about a plan. It's about a strategy. It's about values and aligning those. So I thank you all so much for joining us. Please, if there are any questions, I'm just going to let, I see some questions have already been answered. We can go through those, but also if there are any new questions for those of you who are out in LinkedIn world, we have about 5 minutes. So you have experts here on the call, especially Jenn, Sammy, and Gabe, since they've been through it, and they'll answer all of your questions, and if I need to as well. There was a question while we're waiting for new questions to come in. There was a question out there from Nova. Hi, Nova.
Hey, Nova.
Hey, Nova. Nova was asking if there were any tax benefits to having having certification. I do know actually in the city, and Rebecca answered. Thank you, Rebecca. Rebecca is, by the way, my colleague, another senior consultant and our interim CEO, who is, she's also on LinkedIn right now. But are there any tax benefits? I do know in Philadelphia, for example, there is a tax benefit for certified B Corps. I know that here in Connecticut, we have actually approached some lawmakers here about getting that going. Unfortunately, it's not across the board. Maybe with new administrations and things like that, it may be considered. But as Rebecca answered, becoming a B Corp in the US and Canada does not currently offer specific tax incentives at the federal, provincial, or state level. But indirectly, businesses that invest in sustainable practices or community and development common among B Corps can also access certain tax credits, deductions, or incentives that align with broader corporate tax strategies. Very good answer. So what does that mean? Get yourself an expert, get yourself an accountant, and they can help you with those. But yes, that would be the goal. That B Lab has actually a whole policy department that is working to try to get those, so there can be a real tax benefit for B Corps, but no, unfortunately there is not.
And I will say it takes the work and participation of everyone in the community, whether you're certified or not. We recently got certified in, I think it was April of this year, 2024. And I think the next week, Carrie was like, we're going to the Capitol and we're talking about climate change and you need to be there. And I was like, okay, let's go. We're going to the Capitol. So it does take everyone's involvement to make change like that happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. So especially if you're very interested in that, you could, I'm sure, get on a committee, get on a networking group that will work on that. So we need to.
There also is, as you apply for grants, work with organizations internationally, I know that they look at that favorably. The other piece that I haven't gotten into yet, because Bear Lake Coffee isn't quite big enough, a lot of MBA programs out there actually have tuition forgiveness programs. When you hire certified B Corps, hire folks out of certain MBA programs. So I know when I get to that point, I'll be looking to hire some folks out of those programs, and that'll allow them to have some tuition forgiveness as a part of their consideration for compensation and things.
And there's also a platform called B Work, again, cute B Work, where B Corps can post, job postings, and folks who are interested in working for B Corps can look for jobs. So, but yes, there are tuition forgiveness programs through some of the top MBA programs in the country. Any other questions out there? We have 1 minute. If you want to just throw some feedback into the chat, just how you enjoyed this, or if there was something that we should have covered that we didn't. Love to see I see some exclamation points. Love bookshop.org. Yes. Liz said that I'm a certification expert and still thought the B Lab assessment was no joke. That's true.
And while you're reading those, I want to encourage all those in the BIPOC community to check out the Slack channel. Come join us over on Slack. It's open to everyone in the BIPOC community.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everyone. Rebecca said this was totally awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca, for joining. Thank you, everyone who joined today. And thank you especially to Gabe, Jen, and Sammy for taking the time from their very busy schedules to join us today and to talk about the B Corp movement and to answer your questions. And hopefully, if you want to connect with any of us, certainly through LinkedIn, make sure I think it's pretty easy to connect if you want to put something in the chat. But I think LinkedIn is probably the best way. But thank you so much for taking your time, everyone, today. And maybe we'll do this again soon.
Yeah. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you, everyone.
Carrie, Rebecca, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.